Welcome to this episode of Kennedy Saves the World. I have been looking forward to conversating with Sage Steele for so long, and we are now able to sit down and chat. She is a world-renowned sportscaster. She hosts the Sage Steele Show on YouTube. She is politically outspoken, incredibly thoughtful, and thank you for being a delight and for making time to talk to me today here on Kennedy Saves the World.
This is so cool for me. Thank you for having me. I need it to happen in person next time, preferably, but I'll take this.
So there are a couple things about you that I absolutely love. One, your dad is a West Pointer. Amazing. And you went to IU.
I did. All 5 years of glory. I said told my kids, best 5 years of my life, but you get 4. Don't even try it.
Well, a lot of schools now, they don't let you stay for 5 years.
Really?
Because, I went to UCLA and they had a credit cap. Like, you could not go over. It was very, very difficult to do a double major. And if you were going to double major there, you had to know what you were going to study your first year. So you didn't spend 5 years there. Some places want your money. Other places, they want you out of there. But yeah. IU is a great school. Do you think that you formed your opinion on politics by spending time in the practical and thoughtful Midwest?
No, because Bloomington, Indiana is as liberal as it gets for a Midwestern city. But aren't most college campuses?
Yeah, like Ann Arbor, where University of Michigan is. Yeah, for sure.
Right? Northwestern, yeah. I mean, hi, UCLA, isn't that Big Ten now? Which is so ridiculous that California schools in the Big Ten, I can't. Okay, you'll appreciate this story. I remember 1988. By the way, we're the same age.
We're the same age. You are like 2.5 months younger than me.
That's it. We're exactly the same age. I love this.
Gen X.
So what was I saying? 1988, I was in a high school civics class. At the time, I lived in Colorado Springs, Colorado, Fort Carson, the whole thing, military. Mm-hmm. I remember that election, and I wanted, we spent the day talking about elections and what it meant, the process. There were no teachers, giving their opinions back then. Mm-hmm. And I went home to my parents and said, so who are you voting for? And they both looked at me and said, none of your business.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was like, what? What do you mean? I'm just trying to learn about, and they said, no. Our job is not to tell you what to believe. It is our job to tell you to go figure out what you believe and why. And I look back and I'm like, that was genius. I have not been as good with my kids. I'll tell you what, I do think the world's a little bit different since then, for sure. But so I went to college and, the people I fell in love with, my friends, my girlfriends, my roommates, I was definitely the only one that had more conservative thoughts, but I didn't even know that's what they were. Mm-hmm. They were just opinions. I did grow up Catholic and still kind of practicing. And so certainly I think some of certain beliefs were ingrained in me. With abortion, I had one of my best friends worked at Planned Parenthood her entire college years and many years after. Mm-hmm. And I just asked a lot of questions I didn't understand, but I knew that I believed in life and protecting life. And so how do you balance that? But I understood her wanting the right. We just had great conversations, Kennedy. But that is where I did realize you got to do your homework. And then, I guess you don't have to. Ideally, you understand your why behind your beliefs and can talk about it and have conversations about it, not just say, I believe this and take those, low-hanging fruit bullet points that they give on mainstream media. But yeah, it was the opposite there because I found out quickly that I was really the minority with my beliefs.
Yeah, and there are things, even if you don't realize what you are and that there's a name for your political beliefs, I think having that natural skepticism is so healthy. And, on both sides of the political spectrum, because it really is so bifurcated. There's so few people sort of populating the interesting parts in what would be considered the middle, but people aren't skeptical enough. And I have conversations with my kids about politics all the time. They don't agree with my politics all the time, but I feel like I have to counter program so much of what they're learning in public school.
Yes, absolutely. How old are yours?
16 and 20. So I've got a 20-year-old who had just started her junior year in college. And now that she's working and they're taking taxes out of every paycheck, it's a very frustrating point for her because she goes outside and she looks around and, when she's in New York, the mentally ill homeless people that she encounters on a daily basis, she's like, why aren't they getting help? Like, the money's coming out of my paycheck. I can't afford to pay for everything with my tax money, but the tax money that the city gets from everyone, why isn't it helping these people? And it's like, well, that is the basis for your political education right there.
Yeah, and it's good though, because they can listen to us and we can tell them our why behind our beliefs, whatever. But then when they go out and they experience it and they feel it, they're like, oh crap. But they're still being told by many peers the opposite. And so I think most kids are quite the opposite of what Kamala Harris said they were. I mean, I forgot the exact language back a year or two ago, but basically those kids are dummies or stupid. We shouldn't listen to anything they're saying. Man, that turned out a little differently in this past election, I'd say. My kids are 23, 21, and 19.
Oh, okay.
The 23-year-old graduated in May from college and is working in Nashville.
Nice.
And the other day on the phone, I think I put it on my Instagram, and she's like, Mom, I can't believe I have to do this the rest of my life. And I said, do what? She goes, work. I'm like, yeah, welcome to the real world.
Yeah.
And then you look at the paycheck. She is probably the one that is the most thoughtful so far with her opinions and understanding them and being able to communicate them and ask questions. My son suddenly is now too. He's the 21-year-old between the two psycho girls, right? So he obviously is very different and thoughtful and sits back and watches. He sends me stuff all the time, like TikTok news. And I tell him, I'm like, okay, that's the problem. That's the only place you're getting your news. So I'm going to challenge you, Nicholas. Take that. Great. Read it. Watch it. And go over here and try something else and something else. And then you'll see the difference. And then, I don't know, you figure out on your own what you choose to believe, but understand that it does matter. Context matters based on where you get it. And so, and then my youngest, who's a sophomore at Ole Miss, I mean, she's definitely the more liberal of the three so far. Doesn't surprise me really, but I love that they're different, and I love that they can have the conversation. They haven't always liked what I've said and done, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I've apologized at times. Like when right before I filed my lawsuit against Disney and ESPN, unfortunately, the First Amendment thing, I went to each of the kids the night before and said, listen, this is what's going to come. And I'm sorry, because it's not fair that you're going to feel this, because people attacked them, like disgusting threats on my kids based on their mom's opinion, but you need to see that to understand the world that you are entering. And if I'm silent at this point, which I had been for years, to protect myself, but protect them, like I can't look myself in the mirror anymore. And I pray that you don't wait as long as I did to be true to yourself. You can express your opinion and do it with kindness and being professional. You don't have to attack. I hope they don't wait as long as I did.
Yeah, and you can also have curiosity. And, it sounds like you are a good role model for them. I know in the past you've talked about kind of being a strict mom. And it doesn't matter, like, what I do or where I'm lax. My girls will always remember the times that I say no. And I always push back on what they wear, because I'm like, what you wear and how you look is a reflection of who you are. And, it's like, I understand trends, I understand summer, but, don't look cheap. And, it's like, have thought and respect for yourself and dress for yourself. Don't dress for other people. Don't dress for boys. And, they always get mad at me for stuff like that. But then I see, and I'm wondering what your opinion is, because obviously, as our kids get older, you fight as hard as you can to preserve the last vestiges of their childhood. And, hopefully as parents, we encourage kids to be kids, and which is harder and harder to do, and you have more to fight against. But I saw a picture of Kim Kardashian and her oldest daughter, Northwest, in Rome, and Northwest, I thought it was Nicki Minaj. It's like a 12-year-old girl is pouring out of a corset and, wearing a mini skirt and a corset. And I'm looking at this and, it's like, she doesn't have to wear a burqa, but at some point, shouldn't someone that high profile have enough respect for herself and her child to say no?
You would think, because she has been lauded as a good parent throughout the years, and she certainly put up with a lot from her ex-husband, etc. It's one thing to say, listen, I'm 50. I can do what I want. I can dress how I want. You're 12. You're 16. You can't. You wait till you're an adult. Fine. Which, okay, a little hypocritical, fine, because we are supposed to lead and guide, but we are adults. We've been through it. But then to allow your kid to do, no, I'm sure the kid wants to, because so many girls want to emulate what their mothers do. But that, now what are you teaching them? It's one thing to let your own boobs hang out, if I had any. It's another to almost encourage your 12-year-old to do that. What I always say to my girls, and it has ticked them off so many times, but I think now they're admitting that they understood at least why I was asking, why? What's your goal in going out with everything hanging out? Why? Because, and I've gotten in trouble, Kennedy, for saying this in the past about women in general in professional spaces, in locker rooms where I grew up for 30 years as a sportscaster. We are so smart as women. We know exactly what we're wearing and why. We might not want to admit it, but we know what we're doing. So you're damn right that I had issues when women would walk into locker rooms with their ass cheeks hanging out and tight and all the things. Go for it when you're going to the club or out to a dinner with your person. But in a professional space, and that doesn't mean you deserve, cat calls, whatever it is, but don't be surprised. I don't know what the line is. My daughters now, like I said, get it a little bit more. But ask yourself why. Honestly, what's your goal for wearing that? Because when we're doing it all that, you're trying to get attention. So don't be all upset when it comes. And it's a touchy subject. One more time. This doesn't mean we deserve anything, right? Men, be better. Be better. Control yourselves. And we need to be accountable as well.
Yeah, and have respect for how you dress. And you're absolutely right. Context is everything. And if you're going out and, you want to be as attractive and feel as attractive as possible as an adult, that's one thing. But I agree. If you're going into a space as a journalist, don't dress like a backup dancer.
Please. And, I always had a rule because, especially being on ESPN for all those years, and it was full body shot, head to toe. We're walking and talking and doing highlights, but all of it. And so you did have to care. It can mess you up too, as you know, right? It can make you self-conscious and, oh my gosh, my body, this and that. But I always thought, all right, if this is a fitted dress, I feel good in it, great. But let's not have fitted and really short, or shorter and maybe not as tight. Just pick one. Does it have to be both? Quite often, if you think about it, if you're in an airport or a restaurant, there's TVs everywhere. I'm pretty sure that at least half of my audience, all those years when I was at ESPN, they didn't hear a thing I said because they're watching, not listening, because they're at a bar. And so they're not even listening to the, what I hope was really smart stuff coming out of my mouth, the interviews or the highlights, but they saw. And that is people's, that first impression that we talk about all the time with our kids, that you only get that one chance, that first chance to make that first impression. Right or wrong, it matters.
Don't go anywhere. More Kennedy Saves the World right after this.
What was your favorite sport to cover as a sports broadcaster?
I should pick one, but it was just different eras of my life. It had always been football, and NFL football, not college, because at Indiana, as you know, football was almost non-existent until about 2 years ago. Thank you, Hoosiers. And I think we come into this season ranked 20th, which is just
amazing,
right?
Yes.
It never happens. But because I didn't grow up around that as much, it was NFL. And my first jobs were in NFL locker rooms and with those guys and getting to know them as human beings, much less good players. So I loved football. And then when I covered the NBA for many years, and it's completely different, right? Without the masks on, and you see their eyes. If you're near them, you realize, my goodness, how massive they are, and therefore how skilled they are to be able to move those big bodies that way. I did love the NBA those last several years there too. When I was there, it wasn't nearly as political, thank goodness. I just feel like I had great timing. I was really lucky with all of that. People just kept their mouths shut and played. Not that they need to do that now, but again, LeBron, can we do it having educated ourselves first before we speak, I know we're asking a lot. So football, I'd say, is number one. And then 1A through the years was basketball.
Where are the coolest athletes? I mean, I've always thought the hockey players are the most relatable, the most normal.
Yeah.
They can take a punch and they're still really fun. Who were your favorite athletes by sport?
Hockey players. Hockey.
Yeah, right?
You just said they were so down to earth and humble and kind and welcoming. Okay, when I got my job in Tampa, which was in 1998 at the ABC affiliate there, I had never covered hockey at all. Like maybe been to an ice rink for a birthday party as a kid, but like that's it. And so you come into, a top 15 market with the Tampa Bay Lightning, and they're like, okay, go over, you need to go get these interviews. I was like, who are the players? How do I pronounce their names? And it's probably a moment that I look back on that I'm really proud of, because I had no clue. And what do we usually do? We just try to fake our way through it. And the problem with hockey is that you can't, and you'll expose yourself. And even if you can't pronounce the names, how can you, have any respect, get respect from them if you can't even do that basic thing? So I just went up to the coach and the goalie, his name was Darren Pupa. And I went up to them and I was like, listen, I'm brand new to the market. I've never covered hockey, but I really want to learn. Have patience with me and please feel free to correct me, but can I ask you a couple questions? Honestly, it was one of the best things I did, because they're like, cool, let's bring this young woman in. I was really young at the time. There were no women, much less women who looked like me, in hockey locker rooms in the late 90s. You know what I mean? So they took me under their wing and they helped educate me and made me feel better about it. So it was inadvertently something that helped me tremendously. And in general, any hockey player you're around, for the most part, they're just super chill. They just love the game. You don't hear hockey players mouthing off and making waves or even really talking politics, do you? It's a completely different environment, and I love the NHL. I wish I'd gotten more time around them.
Yeah, I love hockey as well. And one of the coolest rivalries, which we don't talk about enough, is the women's ice hockey rivalry between the United States and Canada.
Right?
Yes, because they go back and forth with gold medals, and it's intense, it's physical, it is so incredibly emotional. It's better than soccer.
Yeah. I love that you point this out. We need to do this more often, because I don't know anyone who talks about this stuff. I think the problem is that we just don't see it enough, know? And so it's every couple of years. I mean, listen, I love the Olympics. I wanted to become a sportscaster based on watching the 1984 Olympics in Los Angeles. I'm all about that. And it's because of, the pride that we hopefully all have in our country. But just to think about those young women who, like, this is their moment. They're not household names. They're not getting paid, and like the NBA guys who then put training camp aside to go play in the Olympics every 4 years. It is truly the love of the game. And when you can combine that with representing your country, it is so good. And again, those women are so chill. Yeah. But I would definitely keep my mouth shut. And whenever they said to me, I'd agree. They would kick my butt like 10 times through.
Yes, because they're tough. They're incredible athletes. They play hockey for hours in college, and then they go lift weights for hours after that. I mean, and they truly are the unsung heroes of athletics. But I'm like you. I love the Olympics. I got to cover the Olympics one time, and it was one of the highlights of my professional life. It was so much fun. And I'm excited for the games to finally come back to California, to come back to the United States, 2028. Is Los Angeles going to blow it, or will the city be able to rise above and actually embrace patriotism?
Will Karen Bass still be the mayor in 2028?
No, she's up for re-election next year, and hopefully if she's reelected, yes, but if there is a rational bone in every voter's body in California, they will, if Rick Caruso runs, they will elect him.
Let's pray.
And she's gonna get destroyed on any debate stage.
Oh my God.
By anyone who, it's like
it breaks my heart. I have my youngest brother lives out there. And I was out there taping some shows a couple of weeks ago. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Like, I get it, the weather, I get it, but like, enough already. It's devastating to see what they've allowed to happen to such a great city. All my NBA years were spent there. Our studio was out there. Can they get it together? I'd like to think so. I know, Casey Wasserman Group, all those guys and gals have been working so hard, well before they got the nod for the Olympics, of course. And there's just so much to be done. And I feel like it's gone backwards, actually, right? When you look at just the last couple of years since COVID, since, after they were given the Olympics, like it's a disaster. So how do they turn that around so quickly? Traffic is awful there on a normal day, much less Olympics. Like the one thing I haven't done in my career is what you've done, is to cover an Olympics. Like that is my dream. I don't know how I do it now as an independent. I can figure things out, I guess. I was always at the wrong network, ESPN, ABC. It's an NBC thing. I'd like to do it because it's here in America. But LA, I'll watch.
I'm going to try to go to some events. I really am. I'm so excited. And through force of will, I'm going to will the city to embrace the flag, embrace the moment. Don't try to be cool. Don't virtue signal. Everyone's going to be over all of that. It's going to be, the summer of a presidential election year where we're going to have a new president, but hopefully people can put politics aside for a moment.
Do you remember what they did this past year at the Olympics last fall in Paris and the opening ceremonies?
Yes.
I'm hoping, that people...
It was so ridiculous. Come on, France.
So unnecessary.
Yeah.
Don't even do that. Just to your point, just put it all aside and celebrate. I'd like to think, especially when you look at what's happening in our country now. Look, Cracker Barrel folded, right? Mm-hmm. And it's okay, we're gonna go back, fine, enough pushback about changing the logo and making it all, I don't even know how to describe what they were trying to do with it. But when there's pushback, when you have that, when you have the American Eagle type stuff, when you have the Bud Light from a couple of years ago, if you are smart, as the leader of any company in any industry, in particular for this conversation with the Olympic Committee, just look around, just read the room. No one will be upset if you don't do that, right? Who's going to be upset if you don't go out there and pander? You're going to have a couple of crazies out there, fine. But if you are just representing our city, our country, obviously, but that city, for those of you who live there, that's a win. And there's so many people who put so much time and money and energy into this. That's where my dream began, the 1984 Olympics in Los Angeles, So, hey, if you need an intern, I'll come with you.
Let's see what we can do. Yes, let's see if we can take our independent streaks and somehow cover the games in Los Angeles. Sage Steele, it has been such a pleasure talking with you. When you're in New York, come sit down with me for happy hour. I would love to host you once again in person.
I would love that. And we have to celebrate our birthdays.
That's right.
Together.
Our birth season, fall.
Yeah.
We'll take it. All right, Sage Steele, the Sage Steele Show on YouTube. Check her out everywhere in the world. This has been Kennedy Saves the World, along with Sage Steele. I'm Kennedy.
Listen ad-free with a Fox News Podcast Plus subscription on Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Prime members can listen to this show ad-free on the Amazon Music app. Oh, go ahead and leave me a review while you're there. I'd love to hear what you have to say. You've been listening to Kennedy Saves the World on the Fox News Podcast Network.